morning, everyone. Welcome to the Outer Realm with myself, Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. We are broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. Pop on over to YouTube. That's where you can find us. That's where the chat's going to be. You want to stop by United Public Radio Network, subscribe, get a membership. Make sure you're logged in because you will not be able to chat, I believe, unless you are logged in. You can listen, but you won't be able to chat with us or our guests. While you're at it, get on over to the Outer Realm on Facebook and on Instagram. Like us up, follow us, all that jazz, and connect. That's how you connect with us. God, honestly, we're just so sociable, you know? And it's like,
where are you?
Don't find us all at once. I know. I get some through the website, which is great, but it's just like, wow, you know. So,
my God,
big day in the U.S. of A. Inauguration day.
I'm not for Republican or for Democrat because honestly, I have enough trouble understanding our own system. It just, I'm just going to say it was a very peaceful day. Republican or for Democrat.
Sorry. I was listening to Joe's show earlier.
It's okay. So. It's okay. We're good. But I'm feeling a little peaceful today. I'm not gonna lie.
Saying that. It's pretty divided, you know, from what I'm seeing. Like some people are really disappointed, other people are just like breathing a sigh of relief, and we're just the neighbors to the north going, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
we're just waiting. But you know, a lot of people were so emotional, and for me, it has nothing to do with Trump per se, as much as for me, I've always loved a politician in the seat of whatever country. It's just me. You know, it's not about a party. It's not about the person. It's about having someone who is politically, but you know, they voted and that's what came out. And as much as people are, anyways, I don't want to put a negative spin on it. It was beautiful. No. Lady Gaga killed the anthem. She killed it. She did really, really well. I was really moved by it. I watched it just to listen to her. Right. I love Lady Gaga. I love everything that she stands for when she's always advocating for people's rights. And she's just incredible that way. But her voice, she's a powerhouse for 5'2". So, but it was nice, and it's nice to see a female vice president. Good job.
That's the first one. Yeah. So that's a really big thing. Also, I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot of milestones, I think, for the U.S. and especially during this time because it's just so chaotic and crazy in the world right now. So it's just nice to see. At this stage of the game, nobody has any real options as to where it's going to swing. A lot of disappointed people, a lot of happy people. You know, don't let it divide you, people.
And that's with every election. That's with every election. Like
there's not much we can do. Just don't let it divide you. We're not all happy with who we have at the helm. Believe me.
No, we're not.
We're one of those.
We are not happy. We are not happy as much as it looks like we are.
Stay home. Like all our politicians are off in the Caribbean. Yes. It's like, wait a minute.
Ours isn't even a politician who's at the head. But anyways, that's another story. But that's what I mean by it's just a feeling of security. How it plays out, no one knows. We have to wait and see. But God bless America. I love you guys. And I'm just telling you from over this side of the border, we are feeling some relief and some peace right now. Just that it's settled, not because of a Democrat or a Republican, just that it's settled. And
maybe there won't be as many cars coming over the border just trying to escape.
I don't know, because some people said if Trump didn't win, they'd move here. But I got to tell you, it's a 10-year waiting list. I don't know how to tell you that. You need a sponsor. It's quite the procedure. Because my cousin tried to come.
Where you're coming from? Just saying.
For the U.S., I'm saying it is quite the procedure for America.
There's a lot of
you have to be a refugee status
on boatloads right now, and
yes,
there's only so much you can do. Not all of these countries have refugee status.
No, they're just.
I understand that part of it, but we're still getting plane loads, and we're kind of going.
You're labeled. They're labeled. That's why. Once you have that title, you can just fall right through in. It's very different from when my dad came over in the 50s. I mean, there's a huge difference here. My father had to come in with a work experience that, and I was discussing this with my daughter today, that no one else had. He couldn't come in here and take a job from another Canadian. And actually, he was called to New York first, and he chose to come to Toronto instead. And, his brothers were already there and he wanted to be there, but he got called in on a visa for a builder because they were building the city then. New York was already established. It was different. Like my great uncle was in New York in the 1930s, so.
Yeah. Different times.
My mom's wedding dress is from New York.
Yeah.
Her aunt sent it to her. It's not even Italian. People are like, oh, you got your mom's, antique, because she got married in 1950. I don't know how antique that is, but she's like, oh, you got your mom's, a friend of mine said, you got your mom's wedding dress from Italy. I'm like, no, it's from New York. She's
None
like,
such
what?
Italy.
It's from New York. Yeah, my mother was just so proud because it was from America, right? So.
Well, we are waiting. Joe's going to bring on our guest. And I have to say, I sucked at physics, just saying.
We do have one brain.
I know. And I already told him this. Is that, okay, really suck at physics? I'm pretty sure. He goes, well, you will ask questions. I promise you, we will ask questions.
Oh, definitely, because I'm being schooled tonight.
I know. So I'm just like, it's all good.
I'm like, the super what? The theory of what? And I have it all on a whiteboard here, and I'm like, what?
It's all physics with a twist. And you know what? When I spoke with him a little bit more about that, oh, hey, Zach, man. When I spoke with him a little bit more about that, it was sort of like, okay, I think I can get this. I think I can get this. So I am really looking forward to it. So as Joe brings him in, which I think he's doing right now, because I see this flashy white thing across our freaking faces.
Oh, let me do this quick view for those of you who haven't seen the post, sharing the views of how the universe really works based on his study and research of Einstein's unified theory. Had to look that up. Please welcome researcher and author of Master of Reality, Mark Fiorentino.
Yes, as we wait. I know, he's very interesting.
I'll try and get back into and I was researching him today, and I'm trying to get into chat.
There he is. Hello.
Here we go.
Where are you? I don't see you.
Oh, nope. I'm like, I'm blind. I don't
there we go. There we are. Hi, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Good.
I was looking for you on the other screen. So I'm literally going to be a student, but I will ask a million questions. I'm not going to lie.
Because that's how we're going to learn and how we're going to have fun also.
Well, I think you put me at ease a little bit once, you added a little twist about, getting everything from source and the universe. I went, oh, that'll be a little bit different for sure. So I think it relaxed me a little bit because I really sucked like severely at physics. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And when I read
my teacher.
Yeah.
I was on the honor roll. Her class sank my grade. I had to take it. I was freaking. Most of us on the honor roll actually failed, and she ended up being dismissed 2 years later. I'm like, why not that year? Like, I had to work really hard to get that back up. It was crazy. 60% of her class failed, and we were honor roll students. We weren't. It's crazy.
It's a tough thing to.
No, she would talk to herself really quietly and flutter around the room, and it's like, what did she just say?
Oh boy. That makes it tough.
But I have to ask, because I don't think I've ever met anybody whose childhood, I mean, most kids are out playing, reading comics, watching cartoons, playing with friends, just out there, just not, I'm not going to say you didn't have a good time, but a childhood interest in Albert Einstein. That's just a very unusual thing, I have to say.
It's right out of the Big Bang Theory, like no lies. Sheldon, seriously.
Yeah, pretty much.
My favorite. I even have a shirt that says Bazinga, but
I did plenty of time doing all those things, watching cartoons and all that stuff. it was just kind of a fluke that got me into it. I was, going through catechism classes at the church, and the nuns wanted us to find a saint born on our birthday. So there was no internet in 1965. So looking something like that up was kind of difficult. So I went and asked my parents. They weren't aware of anybody born on my birthday. So I went over to the calendar, and on the calendar, I found that on March 14th, Albert Einstein was born then.
Wow, that's a good sign.
That is, yeah, and a Pisces. Who knew?
Yeah, Pisces, and turns out he only lived 20 miles from where I lived in New Jersey.
Wow.
That is really crazy how things linked up for you, because not only do you find out, yes, exactly. No coincidences anywhere. Yeah. And right at that point, is that when you started researching him more because you shared the same birthday, or was it because you found out about what he did and what he was doing?
Well, I went to the Encyclopedia Britannica, opened it up. It's funny how I can remember.
We all owned a set, yes.
And I read about him, and I thought there was just a resonance, it just seemed right and exciting and familiar. And was like.
May I just ask how old you were?
Had to be about 10 years old.
Oh, and you found that exciting.
That's young.
Yeah, that's young. That's young.
Exciting was when I read a side article called The Unified Field Theory. And as I read
10.
this.
At 10, not DC Comics.
Amazing.
No, but
You're exceptional.
Marvel?
It made so much sense that I just was enthralled by it. I just couldn't get it out of my head. I says, this really makes sense. I got to know more about this. And the rest of my life, every time I watched a science show or read about science, I was always trying to fit clues together, linking them together to make some sort of explanation about how the unified field theory would finally be discovered. I thought it was a great quest to be solved. And I never thought that I would do it. I thought that I would read about it someday. So I kept reading, but nobody ever solved it. And then when I retired, I decided I'd put all my notes together and make a book. And when I had completed the book, I realized, well, I think I've solved it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That was kind of a surprise.
Well, it's extremely complex. So where do you start with something like that? Seriously, like I'm sure he had a good basis for you to start from, but where do you go from there? Because those are big shoes to fill. Not that you can't fill them, but I'm just saying, as a 10-year-old kid, and this becomes your role model, and this is who you're projecting yourself. I'm going to live up to this and this research. Those are really big shoes to fill.
Well, I never thought that I would have to do that. I just enjoyed it. It was my hobby. So I just enjoyed reading it and got involved with it and studied it. I studied Einstein. I wanted to know his thoughts. I wanted to understand his mechanical model. And the more I read about him, and, of course, biographies and whatever I can get my hands on, the more familiar the problem became. And the more he actually worked it all out. And people just never got it. I mean, the clues were left behind in plain view for everybody to see. Never made the cosmic links. And that's basically what I did. After a while of reading about it so much, things began to make more and more sense. And I realized the problem really wasn't that hard because I'm an ordinary guy. And somehow, through all of this, I managed to do an extraordinary thing. Well, just an ordinary guy. If the problem wasn't really that simple, I'd have never been able to figure it out.
But yet science couldn't figure it out.
Because they have the wrong model. That's why they never have solved it all these years. They abandoned Einstein. They wouldn't listen to him. And they went in their own direction. And they're using a model that is incorrect. But they don't know it. They should have used Einstein's model. They gave up on him. They gave up on his model. And they went off in their own direction. So these really, really smart people Which is a problem because they still, to this day, don't realize their model, quantum mechanics model, is incorrect. And so they keep trying to solve the same thing over and over again, and it keeps failing.
There's a lot of ego in that field as well, though, especially back then. Can we backpedal as to what unified theory is?
Sure. That's you can do it in one sentence. This is Einstein version. It's the one that I care about. The other one doesn't matter. The standard model version, way too complex, and it's incorrect, so we won't go there. So the Einstein unified field theory description basically is this: electromagnetism and gravity emerge as aspects of a single fundamental field. Okay, so what's a fundamental field? The ether that they thought about. I don't know if you've ever heard of the ether. It's the primary field of the universe. It was abandoned in the year 1905 because of an experiment that failed to detect it. But there was an error there that I had to catch, find, and fix. And as it turns out, Einstein and Maxwell and all these other guys were right. The ether does exist. That's the fundamental field that electromagnetism and gravity emerge from, because they are fields of force that are just different types of bending of space. Electrostatic field is a twist of space. It looks like this. A charge looks, I'm going to put this in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. See this little stuff? See how it starts real small and expands upwards, a twist.
Yeah.
That's an electrostatic charge, like an electron. And that moves because of the way it's built, its structure, it's forced to move through space. And when it moves, it creates the magnetic field, and that's another field of force. As I said before, electromagnetism and gravity emerge as aspects of that field. So magnetism is a reaction to moving charge, which is a torsional reaction to moving charge. And so gravity was the last one to find. It was the last one to link. Electromagnetism was already linked by James Clerk Maxwell. So all that was left to do all these years, Einstein was working on it to the very last day of his life. I mean, literally, with a notepad and paper as he was dying, trying to etch out these equations and solve this problem before he died. To me, that is it's a romantic thing in my mind. It's just inspiring.
Did he have it solved and waiting for the rest of the world to catch up, or did he just leave components for it to be solved?
He was born too early.
Yeah.
If he was born 50 years later, he would have had the information that I had.
Yes.
To solve the problem. He didn't know about the things called quarks. Let me show you something. You see this thing? Mm-hmm. This is a trefoil knot. This is what I found, the pattern with quarks move in. They move in this shape inside of the neutron and the proton. He didn't know about that. If he'd known that, he would have found the equation that I found, which is called the moment of inertia. It's like a 200-year-old equation, for God's sakes.
Wow.
And that equation can be used to describe this phenomenon. And this motion of the quarks causes, it's what I call here in this theory of superrelativity, gravity is caused by the accelerated motion of fundamental unbalanced charges. That's the quarks inside of the neutron and proton. That's where mass comes from, and mass is gravity. It's a gravitational field. Charges move in this way. They cause the space in and around the particle to contract. Gravity is a contraction of the spatial medium. So he knew this. He worked it out. It was his happiest thought. Let me read to you just this one thing, God's equation, Amir D. Excel's book. Einstein followed the line of reasoning that began with the happiest thought of his life. Still at the Swiss Patent Office, he conducted one of his famous thought experiments. Einstein imagined a circle spinning in space. The center of the circle did not move. but its circumference was moving quickly in a circular direction. Einstein compared what happens in several reference frames, a standard tool he had used in developing the special relativity theory. He concluded, using his special relativity, that the boundary of the disk contracted as it spun. Remember that. The boundary of the disk contracted as it spun. There was a force acting on the circle at the boundary, the centrifugal force, and its action was analogous to the gravitational force. But that same contracted that affected the outer circle left the diameter unchanged. Thus, Einstein concluded in a way that surprised even him, the ratio of the circle to the diameter was no longer pi. He deduced that in the presence of a gravitational force or field, the geometry of space was non-Euclidean, which means it bent. It was contracted. And when I did that, years later, I says, I know why that's his happiest thought. It's because he worked it out. He worked out the mechanics of how a gravitational force field can be created by moving charges. And that is the unified field theory of today. That is the unified field theory of super relativity. I just basically said he was right and extended it to this model right here.
So you figured it out. Have you gotten any resistance from the scientific community? Like, how are they taking this? Because unless you're one of, the good old boys club, as I say, they don't even really acknowledge it, no matter how much work you put into it.
I am working on, it's like a great fortress trying to get into that group of people. They have blocked and shielded and get angry. Some of them, not all of them. The more secure they are, the less angry and threatened they get. But I tell you, I've talked to guys on the internet, when I try to explain some of this stuff, I make good arguments. They get very angry sometimes. And they will block my answers on Quora and things like that.
Wow.
But I had a whole lot of contact. And I worked with a mathematician for a while, but he was a quantum mechanics guy, and he just couldn't buy into this idea. Just like all the others, they've been entranced by the quantum mechanics and its false doctrines, and they just can't get out of that thinking. They're in that paradigm, and it's tragic. But this is my assignment now. I have to get to them to get them to realize this is the answer, and we're ready to evolve into the future. And unless we solve this problem, we don't move forward.
But can't they just look at your work and look at your notes and your research and just put two and two together? Like, I don't understand why there would be. I mean, well, you understand it because they're a collective, and it has to be somebody within that collective to make these huge strides. But at the end of the day, the fact that the information is there and it's been figured out that can help everybody progress forward. Like, I'm thinking back to a Tesla moment here for a second, like, no, that's not going to work, or we don't want it, or not enough money in it for us, that sort of thing. And it gets pushed to the wayside, and eventually the information gets taken and used, lo and behold.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to play their game. So I'm writing up, you're right, I'm writing up a paper right now to submit to a ResearchGate. It's a place where they don't block new research. You don't have to have 4 doctorate degrees and graduated from Yale or Harvard. They'll take the research. It's from engineers and scientists all over the world. And that way I will get a shot at getting reviewed by actual engineers and scientists, which is, I'm going to have to play that game, and I'm okay with that. So I'm writing a long research paper that describes the mechanical model, this is a metaphysical thing. This is like more like philosophy even than actual physics. And in the old days, physicists were metaphysicians. They studied the nature of things. That's all.
Rosicrucians, they did, yeah.
That's all I've done here is just said, hey, I've got an open mind, and I'm going to listen to the experts. And there's 5 of them: Maxwell, Einstein, Lorentz, Faraday, and Newton. they all basically kind of agreed on there's an ether, and they were all progressing toward understanding things until 1905 when the world broke. And I've had to try to fix all those mistakes in interpretation and move us forward again. So it's a serious challenge, a great task. I've got my what do you call it? Charging the windmill right now.
Charging the windmill.
How do you protect yourself in your work now that you've written this book, you've approached them, you brought it forward? Now what? Like, how do you protect all of this? Are you concerned that someone might come forward with the same theory?
They do. I've had one guy. He has the same theory name as super relativity. It's a Russian physicist, but his super relativity is not at all like mine. And I actually predated him when we talked. He says, well, I came up with this the first time in the year 1993, and I was like several years ahead of him. So he didn't bother me about the name. But there's really, I've searched and searched, and there's nobody out there with these sets of ideas, which astonishes me. Because all of this evidence is just piled up out there, and it's been ignored. They just say, no, it's not that way. And they're taught in school not to think like this. Particles don't have paths. Don't think like that. They have probability clouds.
Our academics are nowhere near where they should be. They're very, very outdated, sort of, well, I would say like some aspects.
They're new. Sorry, Michelle, their new age math is ridiculous. It takes them to do an equation. Have you ever seen that on the internet? They're still doing the equation, and somebody's already done like 8 times 4 and gone, made coffee, come back, had breakfast, walked the dog, and they're still doing it. I'm like, what? Yeah, it is definitely, as you said. Sorry to interrupt you.
Well, you guys are right. I call it overthink. You intellectualize something so much, you've lost your way. You're in the rabbit hole, and you have no idea where you're at, but you keep talking anyway, and you don't advance. And there's guys out there who agree with basically what they're saying, like Richard Feynman, very famous physicist. He said, if all of your colleagues have tried to demonstrate that something's true and failed, it might be because that thing is not true. Never words were spoken. Keep trying. They won't give up. And it's been like 60, 70 years now.
Oh, geez. I think it's time to switch gears. You got to switch gears. Well, try. Don't succeed, try again. But after a while, you got to get off the hamster wheel and just maybe go into a different direction and look outside the box, get away from the club. And like, what is it? I mean, what's more important? Who discovers it, or that it gets discovered and then utilized?
I mean, there is that.
And are they using this for their own purposes? Taking that. Government's notorious for doing things like that. That's got to be a concern.
Yeah, well, the government, I would say, already knows everything about the theory and the unified field theory, because it has to do with anti-gravity too, which we haven't gotten. Once I figured out how gravity worked, it's a contraction of space. It can move in that direction. It can move in the other one. It can expand. So I knew anti-gravity had to exist. Then I had to work out how to do it with particles. How to a certain motion of particles had to happen to make anti-gravity, and it actually turned out again to be fairly simple. And I think the government knows all this already, because they've captured UFOs. They reverse engineered them. They have learned that they were powered and propelled by magnetism. We're back in.
They are full circle.
Magnetism make anti-gravity fields happen. They know. And so I'm surprised, and I'm glad that I haven't really been bothered at all.
Not yet.
And I'm hoping that continues. Maybe it's time. Maybe they know that it's time to go with some of this. The United States already has a 70-year technological advantage over everybody else.
Except for this. Do you think maybe they're just going to let you keep figuring it out and let you do all the hard work? Because it seemed to have been pretty easy for you.
Well, it wasn't. It just gradually grew on me over time. Every time I would read something made a little more sense. And then after a while, now it seems so simple. It's like, how could they have not gotten this already?
Looking back, because in your research, you say that it was so subtle. You could see how it was missed.
The embedding, the patterns that I discovered were very subtle in nature. Like one of my happiest thoughts, it was a simple thing. I'm at work, I'm fixing computers at work, and I have this chart on the wall, this fundamental particle interaction chart for a standard model. Was what the physicist, she's got all the particles on it and everything, and how they're related and all the measurements and so forth. And I'm saying all these particles, they make mass, but one particle is massless. It's made of the same stuff as all the others. It's electromagnetic. Why does that one particle not have mass and all the others do? What is it doing different? I said to myself, and I would ask that question every day. And finally, it just occurred to me, it's the way it moves. It moves different than all the other particles. All the other particles are unbalanced charges. The photon, the massless one, is a completely balanced charge. And because of that, its structure makes it move in a straight line with no acceleration. Remember, Einstein said acceleration and gravity are the same thing. And I said, it doesn't accelerate. That's why it doesn't make gravity. And it's like, that's simple. How did they miss that one? But it took like 60 years to figure that out.
It's almost like it's hidden in plain sight. You just have to know what you're looking for.
Everything always is. All the good stuff always is, though.
It's true.
For those who can see. For those who can see.
Well, like Einstein, here's a guy, everybody is trying to hit the target nobody else can hit. What does Einstein do? He hits the target nobody else can see. I mean, that's it. That's the difference. They can't see it. They can't possibly hit it.
Yeah, but I mean, you're looking at a great mind, and you're like, I just find sometimes with science, it's so technical that they really just don't look outside those boundaries, whereas when you're coming in here, you're coming in objectively, you're coming in with fresh eyes. You don't have that science-based, in the box attitude. You really are looking, you have a peripheral, and you're not afraid to really explore that, like when you get science involved, they have certain fundamentals. That's what they adhere to. That's how they were taught.
It's all
That's
math.
The way it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the whole world is geometry, technically,
Yes. Yes.
Fenneman once said, shut up and calculate. Okay, here you go. There's the attitude right there. Yes. Don't ask these questions. Don't ask me how magnetism works. You want to have a hearty laugh? Watch Richard Fenneman try to explain magnetism on YouTube. It's in my book. I put a link to it. It's a riot. He can't do it because he won't admit that he doesn't know. Instead, he tells the guy who's asking him, you can't possibly understand what I'm going to say. So there's no sense in even me saying it because you have no background and no capability. And therefore, it's I can't answer it.
But yet the guy with the background struggling.
Well,
I don't know.
The force are. They can't really, as of yet. In my book, I define it very clearly and sensible. Fields of force are just different types of bending of space. There's stresses and tensions within the medium. They don't believe in the medium. If you don't even believe in the medium of space, you think an empty void. I can come up with so many arguments that defeat that logic. It's just, it takes your breath away. I mean, I fill up a couple chapters with saying there's no such thing as nothing. Well, why? Because you can't find it. It's not there. How can you believe in something that doesn't exist?
We go through that every day. We go through that every day. My whole life has been, how can you see that?
Yeah, just different. Yeah, just different aspects. Yeah. So how do you relate alien technology, UFO technology? How is it all linked? How does it all play together?
It's all linked. It's definitely linked because my curiosity, I didn't just read about science. I went into studying UFOs because I said, hey, these guys are millions of years ahead of us. I think we have a few things we could learn from them. And obviously, they got here to this planet in spaceships, and they seem to be able to float above the Earth without rockets, without jets, without any viewable propulsion system. So they must be using a spatial bias drive. And I figured that out around in my teens. So then what is that spatial bias drive? Well, there's all this evidence. People are noticing magnetic fields around the spaceships. They notice at the landing sites, the grass is magnetized. People have seen UFOs with polarized lenses, and they see these bands of light going around that only happens when light passes through a strong magnetic field. So there's loads of evidence that people, they're not making the connection. I even go to gravity symposiums, and I'm looking at what they're experimenting, and they're hardly looking at magnetism at all. I says, holy cow, with all this evidence, you don't think don't you think you should?
Am I the only one that sees it?
I think they're just trained to think a certain way. And like you said, Mark's thinking outside the box. He's not using those applications and equations. He's going outside.
Well, I not only considered UFOs, but I got into what you guys get into. If you want to know how something works, here's some good advice. You go to the creator. Whoever made that thing knows how it works. That's what I always used to do when I troubleshoot problems at IBM or whatever. I'd go to the guy that made that thing, and I'd ask him, hey, it's not working. This is what it's doing. What's going on here? And they'd explain it, and I'd learn. So in the case of this problem, I was just troubleshooting another problem. And this problem, I went to the creator. I says, hey, mediums are for real. I've talked to many of them. Now, are there fakes out there? Yeah. But, by far, the most of them are real. And they connect to the other side. And the other side is connected to the source.
That's right.
So where do you think I got the idea for this thing here?
And well, tell us about that, your experience with mediums.
Yeah. She saw that. God explaining it to her says, I am the source that creates matter. I am the energy, the force. She tells him exactly what that is. But unfortunately, the messenger didn't really understand the message. And I've talked with her, and I tried to say, I know what this means. I know exactly what he's telling you what it means. But she's involved with quantum mechanics people, and they led her down another path, and good night, Vienna.
Oh,
so
it's like they don't want to let it out almost. It's not even that they don't believe, but they just don't want it out there. Kind of thing. They're trying to sabotage it.
I try to understand the thinking. There's a lot of stuff going on in physics. They make their money by finding particles. They build big, expensive $8 billion machines, and they throw particles at other particles. They collide them, and then they count what kind of pieces they get. And they're making a good living doing that. And it's hard. Hey, don't tell me this stuff is wrong, because this is how I make my living now. And, we can use math, quantum mechanics math, to predict and find these particles. And every once in a while, we win a Nobel Prize, and everybody has a nice champagne party, and it's great time. And so they don't want to let go of that. And I appreciate that. You don't want your world to crumble. And it doesn't necessarily mean, I don't think it'll crumble. They'll just stop doing that because it's irrelevant. We don't need to find more pieces of particles. It's not going to take us anywhere valuable, even though they make arguments that it will. It won't, because they're going farther and farther away from solving the theory of everything, getting involved with just, hey, we could just find one more particle if we built a bigger machine.
Sometimes it has to do with funding. Are you dealing with university or certain government organizations that are getting the funding and the donations, and eventually that's what it becomes about. You just sit there and spin your wheels and the funding keeps coming in. You make a point of having a teeny little stride every year to show that there's some kind of an advancement. If you figure it out, then the funding stops.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, exactly. The grants.
You hit on a real great point. You can find all the funding you want for string theory, a theory that has yielded nothing of value in 50 straight years. It's popular, and everybody thinks it's cool. And you'll get all the funding you want for that. But if you come up with, if I say, hey, I want to plot particle paths and I want to prove how particles create gravity using classical physics, you say, oh no, that's not going to happen. No, you're not getting any money for that.
That's right.
Shut up and get out of here while you're.
That's right. That's right. Go back to the way things used to be, and you can keep just all the money that you want.
Modeling for computers, I get with programmers, sometimes physicists, and I don't tell them what I'm doing, the model, because when they find out, they get angry and they say, I'm not going to work on that. Then I'm stuck. So I say I have to, make it up. Oh, I'm just curious. I would just like to see the way this looks on the computer. It's got nothing to do with it's just moving things.
Yeah, I didn't just figure all that out. What? Sorry, did I say that? Am I thinking out loud? It's like, no.
They're not all like that, but there are a lot of physicists that, that's the way they were trained. It's a hard thing to understand fully, but it's basically they're trained to think a certain way, and they get it beat into them. And a lot of them really have fully embraced that thought process, that
indoctrination.
I think a lot of those fields are very similar. I have friends in archaeology who made great discoveries. They've been on the show, and others are coming on, and they're just like, I'm like, have you gotten resistance in the field? They say the same thing. They're like, it's unbelievable. It is black and white. It's right there. There's no disputing it, but they just refuse to see it. They won't take the blinders off. I always call it the eyes wide shut theory. It's just like, I don't see it, don't want to see it, but and I don't understand why any field that could progress refuses to progress.
This is the way I look at it. Don't get me wrong. I really love scientists, but I have to say science has its limitations. Yeah. Scientists see their world in different ways, as each discipline sees the world in part, but not the whole.
Right. That's true.
There are scientists that have spent their entire time here on Earth looking through a keyhole, the keyhole being the scientific method.
Yes.
Spent their lives trying to widen that keyhole in order to see more and know more. And now I'm attempting to widen that keyhole by explaining that our reality comes from the Creator, who is the source of everything.
See, you've got the spin. You just put the spin on it that, in a way, yes, you get it from the Creator. You're also getting information through the source, through mediums. You're exploring, again, the peripheral, but those words are almost taboo to a scientist.
You've hit right.
Even after Hawking proving it as well, it still was terrible. And they admire these greats like Hawking and Tesla and Einstein, but yet they condemn their theories and they put them all down. I don't understand that. You can't have both ways. You can't put them up here and then say, well, it doesn't work, or that's not how we do this. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. Well, many scientists will, upon hearing that the keyhole can be widened by ways they can't even imagine, will quickly reject the possibility.
For the right price.
That many will do this.
Yeah, for the right price, maybe.
Well, yeah,
I hate
funding
to say
and
it, but
grants keep
it's the world we
universities
live in.
going.
I have hope because Einstein was a nobody until Max Planck found him, and just picked up his paper amongst all the other papers and say, "Hey, this guy's on to something." And then he started introducing and talking about other people. What I'm looking for is a Max Planck. Somebody out there has got to say, "Hey, this guy's on to something. This makes sense."
We live in different times. The ancients, we have to look back, I think, to move forward. The ancients knew about the stars. God's sakes, getting back into religion, like the Gnostics even knew about the stars and the universe. They just knew, and they researched it, and they had their versions of scientists, but they were more like explorers, I guess. I think, do we have to go back in time just to adapt or adopt proper research skills and ethics to be able to move forward and advance this civilization?
This is funny. I've said many times, I have literally gone back to the future to get you saw where did I get all my stuff from the past? It was all there.
Yes.
They just took a wrong turn in 1905, and I go into a lot of detail in the book, the mistakes that were made in that year. Some of them was actually Einstein's doing, which he tried to fix later on in his life, but the ball had started to roll, and he couldn't stop it anymore. And he couldn't undo what he had done in special relativity. And science is now, they've lost their grip on reality. What else?
Yeah, so you need to start doing conferences then, and you need to educate people on it. Because let the people be the judge, because eventually people push for it and people get it.
Yeah. Hopefully be enough people that see shows like this.
Yeah.
Thinking,
there's lots of people seeing this show.
That's great, and
just a few million here and there, but
that's fantastic.
Yeah, you definitely have to get it out there. I mean, the paranormal field, you look back 10 years, wasn't what it is now.
Yeah, it's booming now, isn't it? I mean,
yes,
it's and good.
Apparently.
Happy about it. Well,
apparently,
it's a part of our reality. It's the greater part. It's the most part. We're in a little space here called the material world. It's like a 0.000, a million zeros 0.1 of what is really out there in the superverse. There's many more universes, many more dimensions. You can travel back and forth in time. It's big. It's more than what
we're a grain of sand on a big beach, right? Pretty much. That's what I always say. We're just a tiny little grain of sand on a very big beach, and sky's the limit. Why don't we tackle the slip wave? I just like to say it.
What is
slip waves?
Right? What is that?
Yeah. That was another discovery I made. Back when I realized that the photon didn't make mass because of the way it moved, then I realized there's another problem in physics. The problem is that of kinematics. This is a great flaw in all of physics. What is kinematics? It's the realization that things move, but you don't want to worry about the cause of their motion. So you calculate without knowing the cause of their motion. Terrific flaw in physics. You should have asked the question, how are these particles actually able to move perpetually? Like a photon will go across the universe 15 or 13 or 14 billion years and never slow down. If we wanted to build a rocket ship and speed it up to the speed of light, we would need all the energy on Earth and more to get it up to. We couldn't do it. But a photon or an electron or whatever, they move at the speed of light or near the speed of light like that. And they don't stop. So, damn it, I'm going to figure out how particles move. Somebody's got to do this because that's the answer to the theory of everything. Because, like Einstein said, nothing happens until something moves. So there was another key secret to figure out. So the slip wave was the way I determine how particles move. And it's really basically, like I showed you before, a particle is a twist of space. It's, this looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you twist space. I don't know if you were a kid, you ever played with silly putty?
Of course.
Did you ever put it down on a picture, like a comic book picture?
Yes, and you make an imprint?
And it lifts,
then twist that picture. Look at what happens to the silly putty when you twist the picture. It thins out and it stretches. Well, it's the same thing with space. Space is a quasi-elastic solid. It's a medium. So you need that to cause the stresses and tensions in order for movement to happen. So what I realized is, since all particles are twists of space, that causes them to move. And how? Because there's a pressure gradient from the front of the particle to the back of the particle. And if you look in nature, everything moves because of pressure differences. The wind blows because of pressure differences, highs and low pressure. Rockets thrust into space because pressure coming out of the nozzle. Engines move, the pistons move because pressure is pushing the pistons up and down. Everything you look at, pressure is the key to cause of motion. So I said, either there's pressure outside of the particle, which doesn't make sense because the medium would then be biased in a certain way. It had to be in the particle. So to give you a real world example, a bubble always floats from the bottom of the ocean to the top. It's got motion. Something's giving it motion. Where's it coming from? Pressure. Pressure from underneath the bubble where the water is densest
is pushing it.
The bubble up. Well, particles got to do the same thing. But the medium isn't the gradient. The field gradient has to be inside of the particle. And it travels with the particle. So I created the idea that, so because of the structure, the way it's built, it stretches along the axis, the x-axis. It becomes less dense from the beginning to the end of the particle. So there's a pressure field in there. That's what I need to cause motion. And now I have a velocity that goes in a specific direction at the maximum speed. So the slip wave is nothing but a pressure gradient that exists inside of every particle, and it breathes life into the universe. Without this, nothing exists. The universe goes black. There's no gravity.
So perpetual motion, basically.
You have to have what physicists say is impossible, perpetual motion. It's everywhere. It's in every particle in your body. And it exists till the end of time. That's the slip wave.
And it doesn't stop until you go poof. Until we're gone.
That's a concern for me, because a lot of people, they're like, the speed of light. I want to travel at the speed of light. I want to be able to travel like the aliens do. And I'm like, yeah, but we're not built the same way. We go underwater with the pressure, your lungs collapse. You need something. You can't even go on a plane after deep sea diving, which I've done, and you can't go on a plane for 24 hours.
You need to
absolutely. So
observation.
How are you going to travel?
I'm going to explain how the theory of superrelativity circumvents that by using the slip wave to bias space. You change the metric of space, which literally changing the distance, the substance, the thickness of it. And what I determined, what Maxwell actually determined, I just read his stuff and realized he was a genius himself. He determined that the speed of light really is caused by the medium. There's two properties in the medium. One is permittivity and the other is permeability. The speed of light, C, is equal to 1 over the square root of permittivity times permeability. So great. Okay, Mark, what the hell does all that mean? What is permittivity, permeability? They're sort of like the electrostatic and magnetic impedance of space, sort of. So free space out in the middle of nowhere you can measure these values. They exist. That means space exists because it has properties. If it was made of nothing, you wouldn't have permeability and permittivity. So let's get with the program here and say, okay, that's the medium. Maxwell figured that out. He knows why the speed of light is that number. The particles can't move any faster than that as long as has those values. But what if we could change those values? Then we are the masters of reality. If speed of light is limited by those two properties, and we learn how to change those, which can be done, then we could go any speed we want. And not only does that happen, but like you were worried about the pressure and everything, because as you build up toward the speed of light, you will have inertia things happening that scientists argue with you about. But believe me, you're right. You have real serious problems as you approach the speed of light. Your ship would compress like this, very bad. You would be like a flat pancake. You would be pinned in your chair. You wouldn't be able to move your arms forward if you're going at 99% the speed of light. It would be impossible to move your arms even forward. You couldn't push the button to say stop. So
no, it's just too quick. You're here and then you're there.
You bias the space. If you are in the slip wave, you change all of those transformations. The Lorentz transformations is what I'm talking about. They're all eradicated because you're changing the density of space in such a way that you don't feel inertia, you don't get compressed, and you can go any speed you want, and time doesn't dilate. In other words, it doesn't freeze, which would be another problem. Which really, it's not time freezing, it's all your particles stopping. The clocks stop because they can't move anymore because all the things are frozen and flattened. So,
see, Doctor Strange isn't that far off from Marvel.
I keep thinking the Concorde. You know, you're getting into speed barriers. Like how did they basically make it so you can get on the Concorde? You hear the sonic boom as it shakes the freaking ground you're walking on. It's like that is like speed. How does everybody within the cabin deal with that? Because I mean, I'm a speed demon. I mean, I think that's a little much even for me.
I'd be sick.
Speed, but that's
I'd be sick. I'll never go to Mars because I'll be sick. Yeah.
No, that's slow. When you're in the slip wave and you're going, let's say you crank it up to the speed of light, you're just floating. You're feeling like there's no gravity at all. Ooh. You're floating in your capsule. You can go, 50,000 miles an hour like this, stop and go this way 50, and you wouldn't even notice it.
Wow.
That's the advantage.
Well, that's how the UFOs move.
Yes. UFOs, that's how they move all over.
That's why they can do that. Because if they had to deal with inertia, they'd be dead in that ship.
Yeah.
A pilot can't do that in a jet craft, but they don't use a bias drive. They use propulsion, ion propulsion, pushing out. You're subject to all the inertial problems, all the problems with gravity and feeling the inertia that limit your speed. Your speed will not be limited if you use the slipwave spatial bias drive.
So do you think we're really close, for technology to be able, like you say, the pilots don't use it, if they only did, then they wouldn't be going, through all of these situations. How close are we to that point? Or do you think we are? They're just not interested in exploring it.
I know for sure. This is where, because somebody told me something that they're afraid and they don't want, so I can't say anything more. I know.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Just say I know for sure. We have achieved UFOs. We have built them. We have reverse engineered them.
Yeah.
They are built. They're probably already going to other planets. I can tell you about the airplane pilots that were flying over Area 51, and the control tower said, "Turn left now," as they were approaching Area 51. Well, they knew already they fly over this route every day. And so when they turned left, they looked over Area 51 and they saw 12 white lights drop straight down from deep space, just come down and stop over the airfield and then spin. So, hey, we already have this technology. I'm telling you, it's old news to the United States government and the Air Force.
Well, The Nazis were said to have, contact with Greys and have crafts or the technologies, and that's going back to the 40s.
Yeah.
To the Third Reich, yeah.
Yeah, so darn well that the U.S. government would be right up there
I think
too.
China might have it as well, only because.
Oh, I think they're light years ahead of us.
Well, in the Vietnam War, our troops came up against a couple of UFOs and they beat the tar out of us. And I said, hey, why did these UFOs take sides over the river and, shoot at, well, they didn't shoot at us. They shot our ordnance back at us and they killed a couple of people.
Yeah, that's the big question then, isn't it?
I don't think Vietnam had this technology. I bet you China did.
I bet you China did too. Well, they are considered
they're so ahead in technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet so not
ahead.
when it
They're
comes
disciplined.
to, bad products and, poisoning their toothpaste. And I don't mean a disrespectful way. It's been a thing. It's in the news. It's happened. So don't shoot the messenger.
You're totally dead on with that. They do have
a lot of
we
Chinese
had the lead in the formula.
I adore them all.
It wasn't. It's nothing against you.
Yeah,
it's just different.
We
have different standards in our country. We have different standards than America. In Canada, we have higher standards, and it's not to sound, I'm not trying to make anybody feel less than, but our standards are a lot higher to bring in. And I know this because I'm in the business in the food industry. So we have higher standards when it comes to bringing product into Canada. It's really hard, including our food and drug system is bar none. It's the highest out of all the countries, and I've done exporting for United States, and I've done Cuba, and I've done Germany, and I've done China. I can tell you China's like 7-8 pieces of paper to get into the doors, where the US is like huge, but Canada, it takes years to pass things.
Yeah.
But we're very strict about what comes in and out of our country. So they're just a little bit behind in that, but very, very, very ahead in academics and technology. They're an amazing culture of art as well.
They're very clever at saying, hey, let these guys do all the work. We'll just go over there and learn from them and just take their research back, and then we'll use it here. I see they put on research gate all the time. All kinds of amazing stuff that they're working on. Metamaterials, there's some interesting stuff going on there. And they're very clever.
Well, I again, don't shoot the messenger, because this is just like an idea, but maybe you're presenting this to the wrong scientists. There are a lot of free countries out there, or let's say not China, because that would be like saying, hey, Russia, here we go. There's just, that would be frowned upon. I'll just say that. But have you tried
as an American
within our allies to say, hey, would you guys be interested in this information?
Well, I'm just putting on research gate. Everybody all over the world gets into that.
Right.
I have had a couple of shows in Europe, France, and England. I'm open to talking to anybody that's open to listening. And, I'm happy about that, and I enjoy that, and hopefully more and more people will come around. I like to make good, solid arguments. When I go to the mound, I don't throw anything but fastballs right down the middle of the plate, one after another, and it's really hard not to swing when you see every ball coming right down the middle of the plate. And eventually, I hope, since I can do that, since I have so much information that can make arguments about these things, these metaphysical things that have to be addressed, the foundations to understanding, that we can move forward. Because really what I'm trying to do is trying to bring anti-gravity into the commercial world, into everybody have a supercar where you could get in a supercar, it's a hovercraft basically, and you can fly, let's say, to Tahiti. I mean, I'd like to take my wife there and have get there in 5 minutes.
Right.
Have lunch, can you imagine?
Watch the sunrise, do whatever.
Yes.
Be home at 5 minutes after sunset.
Like a day at the beach.
Yeah, or you could get up in the morning, have breakfast in France, go to Rome for lunch and back for a nap in the afternoon at your house. These things.
But that wouldn't benefit any of the other countries. You wouldn't be contributing to their economy if you could do that.
You could, because you would buy stuff there and buy there.
But then you wouldn't be contributing to commercial flights. And there's reasons for them holding back. Bankrupting airlines. Like if you notice the cartoon The Jetsons, you see the cartoon The Jetsons, we basically have everything but that hovercraft.
Yeah, so, the airlines can build these craft and fly you there as fast as I can. So I mean, if we want to keep that paradigm for a while, that's fine. But ultimately, in the end, if we don't do this, we're in danger, grave danger. The whole world is, because at some day, we're going to have to get off this planet. And if we don't break the light speed barrier, we're doomed. It's going to end, right? Granted, the day is probably far off, millions or even billions of years from now, but it's going to happen. You can take that to the bank. And it could be tomorrow. As long as we don't have this technology, we're at risk. Because in my book, I describe how we can set up defense systems to block incoming comets and asteroids very easily using my technology. Right now, we have nothing. We can't do. If something's coming inbound, you're
done.
If we
you're done.
A great plague, and we don't have a sister community on another planet that's isolated, even this is gone. Look at what this virus did. It could be 1,000 times worse next time around.
And just shut the world down pretty darn quick.
Completely. And this technology needs to happen. Mankind needs this. We could build super ambulances that can get to the house in seconds rather than minutes. Deliver goods to an area that's suffered some great catastrophe in a matter of minutes. The supplies could be rolling in and personnel can be there on the spot, not days.
Or you could evacuate, great amounts of people.
Volcano going to blow or whatever, or, you can get everybody out of there like that. But long as we twiddle our thumbs here, keep using gas cars and airplanes and rockets, this is,
Well, it's just destroying the environment also, Let's talk cover-ups. Do you think there's a cover-up in all of this, dealing with anti-gravity technology?
Definitely. It's our country's greatest secret. There is no secret more important than anti-gravity technology. Nothing out there that's going on right now is more important than this. It changes the whole world. This comes out, we'll be able to talk to other races on other planets. Just think about how the world, what's normal, is going to change when we have 4, 5, 10, 15 different species walking around the streets with our friends, hopefully, that we can converse with and learn about religion, learn about greater technologies and advancements, learn about winning philosophies that don't involve the slaughter of human beings all over the place in order to get your way. Maybe we could just try getting along. These people, that's why they survived billions longer than we have. So it's a great game changer, and it's the thing I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help somebody. I have a lot of insights as to the dangers of traveling beyond the speed of light. It's very dangerous to do that.
We don't know if there's a war of the worlds, though. We really don't know that. So there could be two sides to that, where they don't want us to be a part of it because we couldn't possibly fight, or they don't want to lose control over the human race. So it depends what perspective you...
This is why they keep it secret. It's very simple. This technology gives them a strategic military advantage. It's just that simple. I've talked to other guys about it that are in the know and that have worked with the government, and they said, yeah, that's it. It's not about panic. It's not about people thinking it's going to be the end of the world or something like that. It's about, if we have it and they don't, we rule the skies, and whoever rules the skies wins the wars.
You're right. That's right.
And that's why they keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
It's
just sort of like, the ace up your sleeve sort of thing. When push comes to shove in the very end, surprise, right?
those in California, the Tic Tacs that flew around the Navy jets.
Yes.
Literally flew
Yes.
around them in circles. If they had a gun on their ship, do you think they couldn't shoot all our jets down? I think they could. And it probably wouldn't be a gun. It'd be a laser, which would be even more effective. We wouldn't stand a chance. Our jets would be like old-timey,
Yeah. So we're just outdated in everything, basically.
Well, aren't we the slave race?
Education, technology,
that's
military.
Why, the aliens been visiting us for tens of thousands of years. Why they could destroy us? Why haven't they done it? That's a great question.
Well, I truly believe that
the world comes into.
I truly believe that extraterrestrials have been in cahoots with our governments. I believe the different technologies have been given to various governments. I don't believe it's solely the American government. For example, the Germans were thought to be, the belief was that they were very advanced, as a people, and they were given a lot of these secrets or technology. Sadly, you just had a little bit of a loose cannon who took advantage of that and went completely AWOL and just created, atrocities. But the point is that the technology, somebody in there thought, from an extraterrestrial standpoint, that you're advanced enough, we're going to give you this technology. So who else has it that, we don't know about?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can answer that question about other countries other than maybe China. I haven't seen any evidence, but it's like everybody's in on, at least our allies are, because they're no more helpful than our government is, or the Air Force, or whatever it is, when somebody wants to know, hey, what the hell was that up there? They have their
balloon
bogus explanations and
it was an air balloon.
That was swamp gas, that kind of stuff. It we're not going to get any official help from anybody in authority right now, but maybe in the they did release the stuff from the Navy planes.
I was just going to say that. Do you think that's a step in the right direction for progression?
Well, somehow those videos were leaked out. They didn't come directly until they were leaked onto other sites, and those people spread it around. You guys, were talking about it and, passing it around, and it got more and more into the eyes of the public. And then they officially put them out and say, yeah, these are real, which still is more than what they ever did before.
Right.
They would just keep denying, and they would just make up a story and say, those are Hollywood generated. They could say that, right? But they didn't.
Right. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong on that. But
maybe there's a change coming. I don't know.
The winds are changing. Maybe. I don't know.
Today, how much they hide from us. It's just so scary.
There's no telling. At the end of the book, I talk about stargates now. There's an interesting technology.
That is an interesting thing. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, actually, from my discussions with a medium, I was, I had just finished the book, and I was talking with this medium, and they passed on some very interesting information to me. They gave me some keywords while we were talking, and I did research on the keywords, and then she said, you should talk about stargates. They really do exist. So I said, all right, well, if they exist, I should be able to speculate enough that I could design one. And I know what I need to design a stargate. Something, and I say it like in the first few sentences of the chapter. I says, if this is going to work, and I don't know, I'm writing it now, and I don't know how this chapter is going to end. I research as I write it. Something has to go faster than the speed of light in order for this technology to work. Something has got to vibrate or move beyond the speed of light. So it's the keywords, and I, sure enough, found something called metamaterials. And if you look on ResearchGate, there's people claiming that when they built this material, it's constructed in a certain way, that what I talked about earlier, permittivity and permeability,
yes,
or go to zero inside of this material. And they're claiming that light shining in there goes infinitely fast.
Wow.
So I says, this is what they said was in there, and I actually found it. This is right. You could build a Stargate now. You could put that in the frame. And then see what happens is if you shoot an electromagnetic particle like light or electrons through it, and it goes up and it compresses to a frequency that's so excruciatingly high, it literally makes the space in that area vibrate, and it opens up a portal into anywhere you want to go. Like a radio, you tune it to the place, the dimension, the time. God help us, they can travel forward and backwards in time. With this thing, you could just punch in the numbers and say permittivity, permeability, this, use sound to vibrate the air, increase the power to a level that's significantly great so that you can go back 50 years. And then this thing turns on, and next thing you know, you literally walk through to a different time. Your whole body, your present time body, can go back into an older or newer time segment. Because in order for time travel to work, you have to be, what's true has to be this. Time has to exist all at once in parallel, or time travel can happen. And sure enough, thanks to you guys, mediums and near-death experiences, we know that God and the afterlife is beyond time. There is no time there. So, and they can go forward. They could see things in the past. They could see things in the future. So time exists in parallel, all at the same moment, all of the time. So that makes the Stargate time travel possible. The dimensions and the other stuff, well, there's so much stuff out there. It boggles the imagination.
It's amazing how you said about the EMF fields, because when I'm a medium and a remote viewer, and when I go to the airport in the city, I can pick up so much more from there because of their EMF grounding for their airlines. And I can pick up a lot. And I used to go there with a mentor and do lessons there.
Wow.
Sometimes when the weather was better. And I was shocked at how protected I was and how much I could see just from where I was. But you have to know how to use that and take it and use it to your craft. You can't just go there and expect to see visions. But it's amazing.
Right. And the first medium I ever went to said, when we went in there, I put my legs up. And I crossed my legs. Put your feet down. Both feet have to be on the ground. There's something to, like you're saying, that grounding. How that spiritual energy works.
Yes.
I don't know. Spiritual energy is not like our energy, and electrons, photons. It's different, and I don't know anything really about that. Somebody needs to research that. And you guys, I guess. How is it different? Is it just pure consciousness? When we die and we go to the afterlife, we still exist. We don't really physically die, but our consciousness, our soul,
the essence, it exists.
What is that made of? I'm scratching my head trying to figure that one out.
Well, for me, I see it as a light. Recently my father passed away in November, and I made sure that my mom helped his ascension, because I didn't want him to be grounded. You never want a spirit to be grounded. Right. You know, and for me, I see it as light, and I see an essence. I don't know how to explain it. I think for every medium, just like every language is different, they see it differently as well. I don't think there's a concrete way of look. It's not this way and that's it. It's all in your perception of how you read.
No, I agree with you with the light aspect, because I had my uncle come through one time, and he was a very gifted medium. And he came through, and I asked him, I said, is it everything you thought it would be when he passed away? And he said, more. I said, how so? He goes, there's so many lights here. And I'm like, what are the lights? I said, is it soul energy? He goes, yes. I said, is it connected? Because he always believed it was like a collective energy, and you just kind of go back to it. And he goes, exactly.
And so that fits with the theory of the tunnel. When you have a near-death experience, I've had several, and every time it was different. And I had 3 consecutive ones, and they were all different. Yikes. So, you know, but it is in that sense, like Michelle said, where it's a collective of light, and it just envelops you, and it takes you, and you really do want to go. You don't want to go back. You have to be pushed back. It's very easy to slip into it. It feels like home. Yeah. There's no other way to explain it except it feels like home and love, and there's just so much of it, and you're just overwhelmed, and you just want to follow it. So yeah,
that to me is very assuring and comforting, and I totally believe that. Not just believe it, I know for sure it's true. And I love reading and hearing and watching near-death. I've watched so many near-death experiences, mind-boggling. It's helps me get through the day, knowing that in the end there's going to be a happy ending, no matter what happens here. You get there.
Oh, this is one little iota of time here on a much bigger spectrum.
You do bring something back every time you go, though. You do bring something back. It could be 30 seconds to a nurse, but for the person going through it, it feels like forever. And you come back with a wealth of knowledge, or some other gift, or something strengthened. It's never the same. You do come back with, for me, I call it a gift. Like, it's always a gift. It's always something more than.
Yeah. And scientists need to be studying this stuff. They need to open their minds. They do. They need to help the world understand this and appreciate it. And there's so much to be gained by the knowledge. These people are bringing back amazing stories, amazing knowledge, and all I can say is go. Thank God that.
Oh, it's happening, but there are people who have very dark experiences also. But they come back changed. You know, they realize, oh, wow, this is something. And I realize that I need to walk down a much lighter path.
I think the key is who you are in your perceptions at the moment of death. Yes. That seems to color what you experience on the other side. It's like special made just for you. Okay, this is what you need to see. This is what you need to hear. Like an atheist, what was his name? Howard Storm. I don't know if you heard this famous near-death guy. He was an atheist. He didn't have a very pleasant near-death experience to start off with.
Oh, you're kidding. He didn't have a pleasant one, because you often hear atheists come back as believers.
Well, he didn't initially, but in the end he did. And then he just was stuck. Like you were saying, you wanted to help your loved one ascend. Well, he didn't ascend because his expectation was he wasn't going to be alive after he died. He thought he wouldn't exist. And then when he was
stuck
in the hospital room and he saw his dead body and nobody could hear him anymore, he didn't know what to do. He's just standing around until these people came up. And then these people say, hey, Kate, we've been waiting for you. Come with us. And so he followed them, and it kept getting grayer and darker, and they started talking nasty, and then things real ugly. and a fight broke out, and they were ripping at his flesh, and
Wow.
heard somebody say, "Pray to God." And he says, "I don't know how to pray to God. I'm an atheist. I don't believe. I don't know. I don't have any prayers." And it just kept saying, "Pray to God." And when he finally did attempt that, the people that were attacking him couldn't stand that, and they receded. And then the light opened up, and then he could proceed. But it has to do with your state
mindset
when you pass.
Yes, mindset.
I think you guys hit on that.
Absolutely.
And that really makes sense to me. It does.
When I had those 3 NDEs, I was in for surgery, and they had given me 2 drugs that I was allergic to, and it was obviously human error. But anyways, that day of the surgery with synchronicities was my mom's birthday. My mom passed when I was 27. I was having this surgery at 41. And I remember going in, and my dad, who was alive at the time, was tearful because I was allergic to everything. Oh my God, something's going to happen. I go, Mom's not going to let anything happen to me. It's her birthday. There's no way she would let anything happen to me on her birthday. And it happened again. But anyways, I knew I was going to come out of it. I go, whatever it is, it'll come out. I just knew. I always knew that there was more and that everything would be fine. It always worked itself out, that knowing. But I think that comes from the first NDE experience that I had when I was much younger. So it's just really bizarre.
Well, I think that all people need to realize, and I like to say this, that everybody, you guys know this. What I'm saying is not going to be new to you, but everybody has guardian spirits, guardian angels, spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, same name, different name, same thing, with you your whole life. And they're helping you through your life plan, what you came to Earth to do. And that's their job, to keep you safe and make sure you live through to your exit point, whatever that time is. That's already been planned. So you're not going to go, hopefully, although with me it almost happened, but I was warned. My spirit guide literally talked in my ear, and that's never happened before.
Tell us about that story, because you talk about how your life was saved by guardian angels.
Yes.
Please share that.
I have 2 guardian angels, a man and a woman. Someday I got to learn their names, and I want to thank them very much for all the help they did, especially then, which I need to apologize for not listening to them. But one day, every day I drive home from work from IBM, and I hit this T intersection. I can go left, peaceful roads through the countryside, takes a little longer, but it's not stressful. I can go right, it's a little faster, a lot of traffic, a lot of lights. Stressful, especially with a guy like me who's driving a stick shift at the time. So I'm saying to myself, yeah, I'm going to go left today. And then as I thought that, I heard this voice say right next to my ear, I didn't hear it in my head. I heard a person say, don't go that way. And I looked around, see through somebody in the backseat of the car. And I said, nah, that could not have happened. So I continued forward a little more, and then it said again, don't go that way. And of course, what did I do?
You didn't listen, clearly.
And I apologized many times. I'm apologizing again. I am sorry. I didn't listen. You're trying to help me. And, I didn't listen. So I went that way because I was a doubter, scientist in my head, thinking, I didn't really hear a voice, did I? If I did, then something bad is going to happen up ahead, and I'm going to be ready for it. And I'll somehow avoid it, thinking, you could die. But I went that way because I had to know what I just heard was real. And sure enough, almost about 3/4 of the way home, there's this big straightaway, and I see this pickup truck swerving back and forth, and he's a 2-lane road, and he's driving like a maniac. And he's going right at people, and they turn and go off the road, and then he's coming at me, and the guy in front of me who I was trying to get behind to stay safe, he bails out, and then all of a sudden that maniac is heading at me. So I turn the wheel as hard as I can, and I go off into a ditch, and we miss by this much. And then he spins out and stops in the middle of the road. I don't know what happened after that. I just remember that everybody just got in their cars and went home like nothing happened. But then I thought to myself, you stupid fool. They warned you and you didn't listen. And, I feel so bad about that. I have been apologizing for not listening.
Aw. You know what? It's what they're supposed to do. And can I give you just a little bit of comfort? You mentioned how you've never asked for their names, and that's bad. Most guides don't go by names like we do here. It's a human thing. If you feel more comfortable, you can give them names and call them that if you want. But I learned that the hard way with my guides. That that I was told we don't really use a name, but if you want to call us something, what are you comfortable with, and what do you?
Okay.
That's why I sometimes laugh when we were talking about the fakes, and sometimes mediums are given names that maybe that guide knows and understands that client will be comfortable with, but more than not you'll hear that they're beings, they're light beings, there really isn't a name that
you could be like
you
my
pick up
guide.
on. Yeah.
Somebody said
hers
his
is a
name
little
was
different.
John. He goes, yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, sure, okay, whatever. Mine just laughs.
Thanks
What do you
for
want me?
that.
What do you want to call me? And there isn't when you say there's a male and a female, you're picking up energy. You're picking up a feminine energy. You're picking up a masculine energy, which is yin and yang, really. So it could be one. But yeah, it's very interesting. I always feel bad when people say, I don't know their names. I'm like, it's okay. You're not supposed to.
That's just what the medium told me back then. I just know what she said. And everything she said, her name was Martha McKay, and she lives in Casadega. I don't know if you know where that is. And everything she said came true. And
those are amazing moments, aren't they? That validation is just so comforting and peaceful.
It took years, but one by one, each thing clicked off, which amazes me because I still struggle with how you can tell the future, but you have free will and choice, and somehow it comes to pass. And I've had dreams where I predicted my own future just basically from a prayer. When I was going through my divorce, I had terrible anxiety and so forth way back in the day. And I would pray at night. And one night I said, I just don't understand this. How can we really tell the future? And I fell asleep with that prayer and my thought in my head. And I had a dream that night. It was a simple dream. I parked my car. I'm walking into work and I'm walking through the parking lot and I look down and I see this shiny dime heads up on a white stripe in the parking lot. And then I look and it's a beautiful sunrise. The sun's coming up, so I'm facing east. And then I wake up and I say, well, that was interesting. What's interesting about the dream, it was in color, and I never dream in color. And it was so vivid. So, and then I fell back to sleep and I forgot about it. Next day I wake up, I go to work. I have no idea about this dream at this point. I park my car, I'm walking to work. I look down, I see a dime sitting on a white stripe. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I remember that.
That's a premonition.
Last night. And it was heads up on the stripe. And I looked up and I saw the sunrise coming up, just like in the dream. So I said, well, I guess they answered my prayer. You can't tell the future. Here it is. It just happened. It's like a personal miracle.
Yeah, it's great. I think you can't peg time. Time is completely irrelevant over there. Like, that's why I think you say, well, it took a while, but time is really irrelevant.
Yeah.
Especially for a medium or a psychic, they see the events. They don't see necessarily when.
Right. You don't sure when.
As long as the events actually take place, then at least you know that, she got it right. So that's what adds to the experience.
That's exciting.
It is exciting.
It's exciting.
She saw stuff she didn't even understand because it was way far in the future where there was technology. She saw me sitting. There's wires all around. You're like inside of a machine. There's screens and wires and stuff. I remember the day.
And she did the right thing. She gave you the information without judging it or questioning it. She just gave it to you, and that's the right thing to do.
She's an amazing lady. Definitely.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of good psychics, mediums. whenever I had stressful times, I'd go through that to them and get good, wise advice. You know, you can always count on the other side. If you have a real medium that's actually talking, they handle things in a way they can't tell you exactly what to do, but they really give you good advice. And
it's interesting to me that you're so open to that, being so scientific in a mental aspect. Like, you're kind of like you're walking the line between
anomaly.
both. Yeah.
It's just a quirk with my personality, I guess. I remember taking a MAPS test, a personality test in community college, and I answered the question. I thought, it's fine. I got the chart back. It was like a circle. I said, "Oh, okay, wow. Circle. What does that look like?" No, it was actually like a football. And I think it's supposed to be a circle, except mine was like an elongated football. And then they took me aside and says, "Okay, well, you got an unusual personality type. You believe one way, and if one little thing changes, you flip and go the other way entirely. If something doesn't fit right, then you can reverse course." And so they hooked me up to wires. They made me give a speech, and I did all that stuff for them. I said, "I don't know what any of this means, but great, let's do it." And it's just, I guess it's something in my personality that other people have noticed. Yeah, you're a scientist, yet you believe in mediums and spiritualism and the afterlife.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, to me, it's all the same because, science is created by the spirit, by God. Near death after near death experience that I've read, like Father Rick Wendell's and Howard Storm's, they've said, and others, they've said, "Hey, God told me I created the universe. I made the laws of physics, which are immutable." And they've seen math equations going and all this stuff in the afterlife on these giant computers and all this stuff. It's like, the creator is the central cause of everything. And why wouldn't I listen to that? Why wouldn't I pay attention to that information? I just say the evidence is there. I accept the evidence from mediums and from near-death experiences.
I agree.
They come up with credible evidence of consciousness that it survives beyond death. And they provided powerful evidence of hearing other people talking in another room while they're on the operating table, dead. Okay, the only way that can happen is that consciousness leaves the body and is over there, existing. So the evidence is clear.
There's so much truth in that. There's so much truth in that. You'll often hear people talk about how they heard the conversations going on, right? When they're out cold. And I know I had that same experience. I'm like, "No, you told me." And she's like, "I didn't talk to you." Like, "What do you mean you didn't talk to me? I was looking right at you." But yeah, you go through those, when I wanted to talk to the nurse about what had happened and everything. And I talked to other people who've had these experiences, and I'm always fascinated, even having them. Everybody's just so different, but again, always that light. But I'm always fascinated about how much they hear, and
hear their
I believe in that a lot. When I had a friend whose mom was passing away, and Michelle knows this, I was at their bedside and communicating for her because she was unconscious on behalf of her. And there's things that if you can give that peace to someone, why deny it? I don't know.
Absolutely.
No, I'm a true believer in, in having a gift and paying it forward. I've spent, 18 years now using my abilities and my knowledge to help people all over the world at no charge. Very, a lot, putting in whatever time that I can, giving peace where I can. And we still do, like multiple people a week, multiple people all over the world. And you have to, because I believe it can be taken away from you just as easily as it was given to you. And you don't get careless with it. Just don't, because one day you just might wake up without it.
Well,
Yeah, watch the greed.
My theory about mediums and psychics is they're mankind more evolved. You're the first wave of many more waves to come of higher evolved human beings.
Mm-hmm.
This is the important stuff. The more this happens, the better, in my opinion. Because you get wisdom. You can connect to the source and you can get wisdom, and you're going to help people make better decisions for their lives and have happier lives. If you know everything's going to be all right, what a liberating experience that is for the human being that's constantly living in fear, because of fear of death, fear of what, starvation, fear of whatever. But if you know no matter what happens, God is on your side, Jesus, the angels, the spirit guides, they're all on your side trying to get you through this, and it's going to work out somehow, some way. And that's the gift of knowledge that people who've had near-death experiences and mediums can give to people. And it's helped me tremendously in my life through this.
And look at you now. Solving and discovering all this technical stuff.
Happen. I just say, hey, you just, I do this. Would I rather be fishing? Probably. It looks so peaceful out there on the lake.
But well, you'd be bored.
But this is for the greater good of man. This is your contribution. You talk about mediums, but this is your contribution to the greater good of man.
You're exactly right. This I was assigned, and I was told that by a very, very good medium just recently. She says, now that you know it's right. Before you were born, and this is true for everybody, you're told this is your task. It's up to you to remember it and fulfill it. You took this assignment on, and we picked you because we knew. And I asked, why me? I'm just a guy, not really all that special. She says, well, we picked you because we knew we could trust you.
There you go. That's quite a compliment.
Well, now I'm really in on this because I feel really
no pressure.
No, you know pressure. What? You've given so many people who are gifted right now listening to you. You gave them so much validation and so much confidence. I thank you for that as well. That's why I got a little too gibbery there, but it's really nice to hear someone from a scientific perspective validate that, because people are always looking for the science to prove it, and it's not easy to prove.
Well, it's not easy to prove. When you talk to scientists and say, there's no evidence. I've talked to one person I know who's a medical doctor. Well, there's no evidence. Yeah, there is. You're just not accepting that evidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to you. I have plenty of personal experience that I know is true and valid. I've got loads of evidence. There's an afterlife. And if you don't want to believe it, that's fine. But I know for sure there is. And
I just like how you're tying it into the scientific research of yours, how you're bringing them together. I think it's important.
What's going to happen, the truth is, and that's what I'm really interested in, the truth is, religion is going to supersede science, because science comes from God. You call that a religion or whatever, but the ultimate truth is everything that's here, everything that exists is because we're in some sort of a shared dream, God consciousness thing that we call a material world. And we're all sharing that experience together, gathering experiences that we bring back as a gift to God.
Do you feel we're in a matrix?
That's life. And in return, we give him
the word of the week. Yeah.
Word of the week. With your research.
Matrix. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, with your research, you would probably be able to tie it in. Do you feel like we are in a sort of a matrix? because we're not looking outside of that. We're not bouncing into the ether, as we say.
We're in a matrix-like scheme,
Right.
That's created by God. There's no computers running anywhere with a great database. And
right.
This is all handled.
Dang aliens.
Yeah, this is all handled.
Yeah.
My God, that's my theory on that. And I think the evidence supports that theory, and that's why I keep reading and listening to near-death experiencers and mediums, because I'm looking for more and more clues to understand.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Every once in a while, they, like this one lady who had a near-death experience explained very clearly. She, like you say, didn't want to go back. I like it here. It's home. I'm happy. No, you're unfinished yet. You got to go back. And then she starts complaining to God, saying, but it's too hard. And then God says, like she said, in this voice that echoed through the entire universe, almost a yell, but not quite. It's supposed to be hard. And she went back.
All right. That's all I need. So, wow. This has been, I've really, really enjoyed having you join us. Honestly, the information is just mind blowing for real. Tell everybody how to find you and where to find your book, and just get yourself out there.
Over.
Okay. Yeah, it goes fast.
Already? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I learned so much.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Thank you so much. My God, what an honor.
Thanks. My website is www.super-relativity.com. And on the front page, there's a couple of links right up front there next to my book that get it on Amazon, or you could buy one and I sign it and ship it to you.
Support the author, I say, not Amazon.
Support the author.
I always say that too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So that's
www.super-
relativity.
We're putting it in chat.
Okay, thank you.
.com.
We have it on our
group page.
Good.
Yes.
Michelle posted
it. The better.
Yes, absolutely. And you are on social media. You're on Facebook. Are you on Instagram, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Are you on TikTok? No, I'm kidding.
Nobody's on freaking TikTok.
It's a new addiction.
Jesus.
It's a new addiction.
Yeah. You need a damn intervention.
I don't post. I just watch the damn thing. I'm damaging my brain cells.
What is it called?
TikTok.
Don't do it. I just watch the videos.
Don't do it.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it, Mark. You'll never have that theory. You won't even you won't write another book.
Your brain will go to mush. Don't do it. Stay sharp.
It's terrible. I just go on it to watch the puppies.
Oh my gosh.
It gives me that moment of just peace and tranquility away from the craziness. And it's true. They always say, you're on it for 10 minutes. You think you're on it for 10 minutes. And 4 hours later, it's like, holy crap.
And my message is going bing, 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 bing.
Michelle, look. Michelle, watch. Michelle, watch.
I'm like,
poor John. My husband's just like, what are you doing? Just one more. Just watch one more.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
But
good.
Thank you. I will be in touch with you.
Yes.
I will get you some links and stuff to archives, and I'll get you the show numbers and such. And again, it was a real pleasure, and I will be in touch again, and maybe we can do this again.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We got plenty to talk about. We get along good.
I love it.
Still so much more. I know.
That's what I
have
mean.
a whiteboard full of points up here. We haven't even gotten a quarter of the way through.
There we go.
Great stuff, going faster than the speed of light. All kinds of fun stuff to talk about. So yeah,
can't wait.
We will definitely do it. So thank you for joining us. And wow, thanks for blowing my mind. So thank you, Mark.
Do it. All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.
That was amazing. Good night.
Well, we've come to another awesome segment here on the Outer Realm. Chat room was on fire. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, especially our special guest, Mark Fiorentino. Again, thank you for just blowing our minds. Big thank you to Joe Montaldo for taking care of us and being on the technical side of things. Please remember to stop by United Public Radio YouTube channel and subscribe. And tomorrow night, join us as AP Sylvia joins in, and wow, you're going to definitely enjoy that. I think we're going to be talking vampires. So he's done a whole bunch of research on that. So can't wait. So thank you very much. And we shall see you all tomorrow night here, same time, same place, same network. Good night.